Bam! Welcome to Go Live, the weekly gaming show brought to you by GameOnDaily. I'm full of energy. If you're watching live on YouTube, you can probably see in all these little windows. That side. None of them have Gaz in it. Gaz isn't here this week. I know you all love him. He'll be back next week, bringing more sauce than ever. If you're watching after the fact, if you're watching on a podcasting service, you're watching it on YouTube afterwards, just hit 2 times playback speed. It'll be like he's here with us all along. Luckily, the week has given us loads of great topics, so we're going to have a good show. I've got a fantastic panel of guests that are all people that I love to talk to. They've all been on the show before. So before we get into the topics, I'm going to introduce those. And first of all, in no particular order, in a very particular order, because it's the order that I can see them on the screen, Chris Grannell he's a former Sony Liverpool developer, regular panel member for Midweek Mix-Up, and he's really popular on the podcasting scene in general. Chris is also a long-time friend of GameOnDaily. So when we first started our YouTube channel, Chris was there as a guest when we had around 10 viewers right from the beginning. So much appreciation for everything that he's done with us in the past. Chris, how are you doing, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for the intro. And yeah, I've obviously followed you guys from the beginning, so it's been great to watch this journey as you expand. I'm very well, thank you. Just been chilling today, played a few games, and just looking forward to the show and getting into the topics. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. We've got another good friend. So every Tuesday at the moment, I've been streaming some games with Chris and with this next fellow, the Darge Knight. So Darge is a good friend. In fact, little story about Darge. This fantastic G behind me, it's lead-coated, and Darge put in the work and made that. He sent it to me. I live in a sleepy little village, so I answered the door. Postman's there with his parcel. He looks down at it and he says, I've got a parcel for sexy Asa. He's laughing his head off, and that is the day that I died. So thank you, Darge, for that. Welcome back on to Go Live. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I'm surprised I'm back on here. But yeah, no, that sign, you're a sexy Asa anyway, so it's yeah, no, that's nothing. But yeah, I'm all right. I'm just starting to make a bit of content again. Yeah, you said, do I want to jump on tonight? So yeah, with Fonz, obviously I talk to Fonz a lot. Chris, I've been playing with Chris a lot as well. Erica and yourself. So yeah, I'm thankful you've invited me on, mate.
Good, all good. Next up, we've got Erica. So when I was putting this show together without Gaz, I knew I needed people that have been on before that are easy to talk to. And every topic that we've ever thrown at Erica, she's just taken it, run with it. I had loads of cool stuff to say. So I'm really happy to have Erica back on for, I'm not sure if it's the 3rd or the 4th time. How are you doing, Erica?
I'm doing well. That means a lot for you to think that about me. I'm easy to talk to. That's good. It's good to be here. I've been on a couple times, and I always have a good time. So I'm excited. Hello to the chat, and let's get into it.
Excellent. And yes, chat, if you are watching live, all of our panel members are keeping an eye on the chat. I'm doing my best to keep an eye on the chat. So ask questions, give opinions, make memes, and as Colt would say, be nice. And last but not least, we have another good friend of the show. So Fonz is really popular in the community in general, really supportive guy. We talk to him in the background on a regular basis. So it is great to have you here. How are you doing, Fonz?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. I don't know where that race car is coming from, but one of you guys.
Sorry.
No, but yeah, it's good to be here, man. Yeah, good to be here without Gaz, of course, because screw Gaz, we don't need him. Asa, you're the man. That's who people come here to see. So it's good to have you as host.
That was entirely convincing. I definitely believe it. We've got big topics. Loads has happened this week. Some things that are going to have potentially really big ramifications through the industry for a while yet. Before we get into those, I like to talk about games. I like to talk about current games. I like to talk about what people are playing. So we'll go back up the other way. Fonz, what have you been playing lately? Tell us about it.
I've been playing this little indie game lately called Bloodroots on Game Pass. It's a pretty fun little title. Having fun with that. Played a few hours of that just earlier this morning. So
that's the isometric one where you whiz around the level as fast as you can, right?
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. You get different weapons and you kind of just kill people in different ways, and you gotta. There's a little bit of puzzles in there too. You got to find how to get over certain things, and yeah, it's pretty fun. Pretty fun.
There you go. Pretty strong recommendation there. Pretty fun. Let's go, Erica. Erica, I know you've been playing Doki Doki. How's that going?
I have. I've been streaming it. I'm not done yet. They say I'm about halfway. My chat is really enjoying it. It's a trip. I guess they just put out the new version, which is like the plus version, and it has extra content. But I've only began to kind of see that, I guess, according to the chat. So I'm experiencing it for the first time. It's a trip. I definitely won't spoil anything, but it's kind of crazy. So I've been streaming that. I've also been playing Scarlet Nexus, which is a great game. Love that game. I'm almost done with that. And other than that, I've been kind of dabbling in The Sims. I've never played it before.
Really?
Yeah, The Sims 4 with the Steam sale, it was like $17 with like a couple DLCs. It's like, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. Never tried it. I was really big into City Skylines. So I thought maybe this could be like another summer hit. I like to play these games in the summer. And so far I like it. It's kind of addicting in a way. But other than that, yeah, that's kind of everything. That's kind of my rotation right now. A lot of gaming going on over here for sure.
Those are three very different games, which is nice to hear.
Yeah.
So Doki Doki, I know, is, if you don't know anything about it, you don't want to read anything about it. You play it and it surprises you because the cover is like a weird schoolgirls thing, and it's quite occult and supernatural. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's definitely not what you expect. There goes my cat. I had theories at the beginning, like, oh, maybe this is going to happen in this, and then it's like completely different. It's a visual novel. It's a lot of reading. My cat really wants to say hi to everybody today. She's been helping me read as well. It's one of those where I don't think I could do in one stream because there's just so much reading, and you kind of have to split it up. But yeah, it's not what you expect. Definitely not.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Darge, I know what you've been playing. You've been playing with my heart, but what else have you been playing this week or this last couple of weeks?
All right. So yeah, I've been playing Remnant from the Ashes. Chris suggested it, and I weren't too sure on it. But yeah, I love it. Like it's a really good like sort of Souls. It's kind of like a Dark Soulsy vibe, but it's got like the fighting mechanics of like Outriders, Gears of War, stuff like that. Been playing that. I got the Outer Worlds. I'm quite a way through that now, nearly finishing up with that. I know there's probably something else, but I'm trying to just basically, I think it's Tuesday that Death's Door comes out, day one on Game Pass, and I'm trying to, hopefully me and Chris will sort of sew up Remnant, and then I want to just throw all my time into that game because I like the look of it. So yeah, that's all I've been playing.
So that's so Remnant. I've jumped in with Darge and Chris a couple of times. Erica mentioned before we got along here that she's been playing it, or has played it in the past as well. That's on Game Pass. That's a surprisingly good game. It's third-person co-op shooting. Supposedly a little bit tough if you play on your own. Quite fine if you play it co-op. Really? Outriders without all of the skills. Fonz, you played it?
Remnant? Yeah. Yeah, I actually recommended that game to a DM chat I was in with Darge like over a year ago. I was playing that. So it's got I think it's got a 60 frames patch now though. So it's probably much better to play now.
Yeah, it does. It does. So Remnant got its Series X enhancement patch. I think you have to play it down at 1080p if you want the 60 frames per second, or you can keep the resolution up. Play it at 30.
I was playing it like a loser though, man. I was playing solo, and It's tough solo.
Really hard on your own. Even like when Chris hasn't been on, I'll jump in to do a bit, and as soon as you get to one of the minor bosses, like you just get your ass handed to you, and it's like no, it's definitely. Even me and Chris last night, just with the two of us, if we'd have had the third wheel there with us last night, we'd have got past certain bits. It's a good game. It's tough. It's a co-op one all day long.
Yeah, it's still quite a deep loot system as well. Go on, Erica.
Do you guys typically play Souls-like games, or is this kind of your first?
No, this is my first.
Okay. Yeah,
I beat Bloodborne years ago. I liked it. Tried Sekiro. I never played Souls, the Soul series, but I played Sekiro and it kicked my ass. So I'm not. Yeah, I'm pretty much done with From Software.
Yeah, Sekiro is definitely tough. But Remnant, it does kind of have like Souls-like stuff, so that's why I asked. Yeah, it's kind of tough. Yeah.
I don't know. I played Bloodborne a bit on the PlayStation 4, and I don't understand how people appreciate that kind of game on that hardware. If you give me a PlayStation 5 version where you die and it loads and you go again, I'm all over it. But Bloodborne, you die and you go, this is like compounding the frustration so much to wait for a loading screen. So I hope that one does eventually get its patch. Chris, what have you been up to?
So as we've as Darge said and yourself, we've been playing Remnant. So me and Darge have finished the main From Ashes story, and then we've gone into DLC now. And obviously we got that kind of cockiness. We'll up the level to kind of hard or the next level up, whichever level we're on. And we spent about 45 minutes trying to kill some boss last night before we both just decided to kind of like bail and just like finish playing, go to bed. It was just too irritating. So we've got that to look forward to again. I've been cycling 3 or 4 games really. So obviously we played Sea of Thieves together, the kind of a Pirate's Tale, which was good. A bit frustrating at times, but it was a decent experience. And then I've been playing NBA 2K21 quite a bit with Dealer, and I picked up a F1 2021 this week, so I've just been playing through the Breaking Point story mode of that. It would be remiss of me not to play F1, considering I kind of made F1 games for 8 or 9 years myself. So.
Fair enough. I have a couple of people in the chat asking where Gaz is. I have a super chat from Gaz saying where he is. He's actually he's in the green room right now, completely naked, like he says. I said, Gaz, I'll let you on the show if you renounce the console wars. And he couldn't do it. He kept muttering something about Source. So he might be back next week. Now, Gaz is busy this weekend. He's moving house, which takes up a lot of time. So he's not here. Oh, yeah. We're cracking on with the show. We're going to have so many topics. They're going to run from exciting to rage-inducing. We're going to start with exciting. We're going to talk about the Stream Deck, the Steam Deck. First problem there, the name is too similar to Stream Deck. We're going to talk about Valve's Steam Deck. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure most of you have seen it. Valve have unleashed or revealed a machine that looks an awful lot. Oh, that doesn't look good. That looks an awful lot like a Nintendo Switch. Right off the back of disappointment in the lack of a Nintendo Switch Pro, and it is riding a wave of positivity and pre-orders. I know some people on this panel are interested, have got it. I will say, first of all, I'll say myself, a lot of people come to me and say, Ace, did you manage to get one of the Stream... It's going to keep on happening forever. I hate this device. A lot of people come up and say, did you manage to get a Steam Deck? Assuming that I'm going to absolutely love it. No, I don't have much interest in it because I don't play anything portably anyway. I don't play anything on the go. So it's not particularly a device for me. I've got a PC for playing on the screen, but I can see the appeal for other people, including a certain Darge Knight that I know has pre-ordered his. So what do you think of this beastly little machine?
Obviously I do a little bit of PC gaming. When I saw it and I saw like the hardware that was behind it, I was like, kind of like, okay, take your stuff on the go. I didn't really deeper dive into the stuff until after I pre-ordered it, which was an absolute nightmare yesterday. I was in the midst of, I got my security code for my bank card put in there. it went through to working, crashed, and then when I went to retry where it's in my cart, I kept getting a warning saying you've tried to make too many purchases. Like, it was stuck. So I ended up emailing Steam support. Anyway, I ended up reserving it. And then I looked into it a bit more. And I think it's going to be great. Like, I honestly do think it's going to be like brilliant. It's, you know, if you've got a Steam account, obviously you can install your games provided they're not online reliant all the time. Take them on the go with you. But also, like, they said you'll know more than me, but it's a Linux-based OS, and there's apparently a Chromium-based browser on there. So the whole Xbox xCloud thing, whether or not they natively get in bed together, you know, Xbox and Valve, that you've always got the option to go to the browser and just go to the play.xbox browser page and stream that way. So I ordered it. Part of me ordered it to see kind of if it was gonna go mental and no one could get them. Then obviously I had it. It only cost me £4 on a deposit. But I don't actually. The more I've watched videos on it and stuff, like, the more I think I'll probably sit on it. It'd be quite handy, you know, like traveling around and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan of it.
Everyone that is watching at the moment, if you have any particular questions about the Steam Deck, because you've probably seen the reveal, you might not have dug into it too much. If you have any questions, throw them up. We'll either answer them ourselves or somebody else in the chat is bound to know about it. So get your questions in. Fonz, portable gaming, Steam Deck, Switch Pro. Do you have any preference? Do you have any taste of these things that you're into?
Yeah, it's kind of silly because I do own 2 Switches and I'd never use them because I'm not a big handheld gamer. So my kids use the Switches, but yeah, not a big handheld gamer. This doesn't appeal to me whatsoever, especially, you know, I'm not a Steam fan. Like, I don't have a Steam account. I don't play on PC. So, you know, one of the things I will say, though, is that it's a neat device for those who are into handheld gaming. I mean, it totally crushes the Switch when it comes to power. So, I mean, you essentially have basically like a PS4 with a way better CPU in your hand, and you're going to be able to do a lot more. And that's cool. That's a cool factor there. But one thing I will say about it, criticize a bit, is I think the stick placement is horrible looking. It's way up there. Like, what's up with that? How is that going to, you know, feel in the hand? I don't know. When you guys get that, let me know, because that doesn't look right to me.
Yeah, I think guys from IGN. Sorry, I was just going to say, I think the guys from IGN on the hands-on had the same concerns, but they said after 5 or 10 minutes, it's actually quite a comfortable placement. And then you've got the kind of touch pads that you can. It's almost like a one-to-one mouse experience. So they were very concerned, but hugely surprised once they were kind of hands-on for a period of time.
The only other criticism I have is that the name is horrible. Steam Deck is a horrible name for it.
It certainly is. I'm surprised at how little criticism the name has got. In terms of oomph and power behind this thing, so Valve's engineers, it's an RDNA 2 little device, so it's joining that little family. It's 1.6 teraflops of power, which, for reference, the Xbox Series S is about 4 and the Series X is about 12, but it is only putting out just over 720p as a resolution. And Valve's engineers have come out and said that kind of pound for pound or power for pixel, they consider it to be pretty close to a Series X. We'll see how it performs and how Steam's games are optimized for it, but it's packing a lot more oomph than a Switch. I personally have a Switch myself, and I've never used it off of the dock. I use it purely as a docked system because there are about 3 games on the Switch that I wanted to play.
Yep. When I've played it, that's how I've done it too, is on the dock.
Yeah, so this thing, you can dock it, but it doesn't get, unlike the Switch dock, it doesn't get any extra oomph for it. It's just a PC that you'll be using that's intended for a low resolution. So how good an experience it will be depends on what you want to play. But Chris, did you manage to get a Steam Deck?
I did, yeah. So I managed to, like Darge, I had a little bit of a pre-order nightmare, but unlike Darge, I think, and a lot of people, mine went through in kind of like 5 or 10 minutes. But the only difference I was doing is I was doing it via the kind of the Steam's own client. And when I first tried it on the browser, even though I've had Steam for like an infinite amount of years, I can't remember how long I've had a Steam account for. It was coming up with like an error code saying your Steam account is too young, or it's not old enough or something. So a lot of people had that type of error. But within the actual client, it went through straight away. I had a bit of trouble trying to pay with PayPal, but when I paid with Visa, it kind of went straight through. So yeah, it appeals to me really because I've got kind of a Switch Lite, and a lot of people kind of pull a face at me. But it's largely a handheld experience. So before the pandemic, I was kind of traveling a lot with work and so on and so forth. So it allowed me to kind of enjoy gaming in a hotel or on a long journey and stuff. And I think one of the things that appeals to me is the fact that it's not kind of like agnostic to their own operating system, so you can install Windows on it. So it'd be interesting to see how kind of like native Game Pass runs via kind of Windows and things like that. And I think the docking feature, so you've almost got that kind of little portable PC that you can play some games if you go away, hook up to a TV or a monitor, mouse and keyboard, and you've just got a nice little package that you can carry around. So it's a nice little bit of a device. I'll have a little play around with different operating systems because I like doing that type of thing. But yeah, I think the kind of power of it and what it offers, it's probably taken Nintendo by surprise with the kind of OLED announcement of the next minute this big powerhouse gets announced. And I think just one final thing is that I tend to play a lot of the kind of PC like indie games on my Switch, that get kind of ported over. So there'll be a lot of games that I'm playing on it, kind of indie type, that would already be on Steam and things like that. So it's just a nice option for me.
There's some interesting points there, because you're right. It's absolutely it's an appealing device for a tinkerer. So if you want to tinker, then you can. In terms of the dock, Valve will be selling a dock for it directly, but it's also got a USB-C port, and it is just a PC. So any kind of laptop dock that you're used to, you can plug in and use to use it with the TV, use it with your mouse and your keyboard or your Bluetooth steering wheel. It's quite flexible in that. Got a super chat from Kaya Santi who says, salute to the great panel. Indeed. Love this panel. It's a great time. It's been quoting me all week saying that it is a Switch for grown-ups is a perfect description. Yeah, that is how I see it. You can use it to emulate. The thing about it being a Switch for grown-ups, that's quite interesting, actually. It leads a little bit onto something that Phil Spencer said in his interview with Kind of Funny, which we'll delve more into what Phil was saying a bit later on. But just this one little quote. He was asked about Nintendo, and he really specifically tears this device apart, potentially without realizing it. You have to imagine that Phil would know that this is coming. So maybe it's completely innocent, but he said, essentially, Nintendo is the only company on the planet that can make a portable device that doesn't run on iOS or Android, that doesn't make phone calls, and doesn't flop completely. And then about 2 days later, a device fitting that exact description is announced by Valve. So I don't know if there's a little bit of tension there or if it's completely innocent. Erica, Stream Deck. Can you believe it? It's happened again. Stream Deck. Steam Deck. I'm going to rename it officially to something completely different just to make it easier for myself. If you're not aware, Elgato do a device that's very popular with streamers called a Stream Deck. The naming is just, besides being bad, if you ignore that, it's just pain on the tongue.
When I typed out for a future video, I put Stream instead of Steam, and then I had to, fix it. So yeah, it's an easy mistake. It's a dumb name. It's really dumb.
It's an easy mistake that I've made 17 times within the space of half an hour. Erica, portable gaming, is it a thing you're into?
Yeah, I have a Switch. I do enjoy just kind of cozying up on the couch and just playing, I'm not one of those that's like, oh, I'm going to take it to the doctor's office. And I don't really do that. I just sort of like use it around the house. I get in bed with it. I get, like I said, on the couch. And as my husband's watching a movie, I'll be playing a game. And it's kind of more of a comfort thing, kind of lay around and play on it. I do like it. I like portable gaming. So I'm excited for the Steam Deck. That name, though, I have to say, I was streaming the other day and somebody in the chat asked me about what do I think about the Steam Deck. I thought they meant the Stream Deck because Elgato had just announced like new things, the camera, the Stream Deck version 2 or whatever. So I start going on a ramble of like, oh yeah, Elgato this, Elgato that. I'm like, oh, you meant the Steam Deck. So it's confusing. I've definitely made the mistake. It's one letter off. So, and I actually own a Stream Deck. So to me, it's like, it's tough. So I'm with you, Asa. I've been making that mistake too. I don't think the name's that great. But other than that, I mean, it looks cool. I have a lot of games in my backlog on Steam, so I'm excited to get into those and actually finish some of those games. I'm excited for it, for sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like Fonz said, in terms of comfort, I don't know if you've had a look at it. There's an awful lot of buttons on that thing. And if you ever held a Steam controller, I wouldn't feel too confident that it is going to be that comfortable. But hopefully, chat, if you are interested in the Steam Deck, if you pre-ordered one, give us a thumbs up. If you just don't want one, thumbs down. If you do want one and you've not managed to get one yet, then just use anything else, just so we can get a little idea of what's going on and what people are thinking of this thing. Also, while you're at it, smash the like button, share this out. Really does help an awful lot. I got another super chat from Lord Roughness. Says Steam Deck is a nice looking piece of kit. What puts him off is the sticks. Those sticks, and 2, maybe it's the first of many handhelds to come out. So Lord Roughness, it is almost definitely the first of these devices to come out. So when Valve talk about it, they speak of it as being a kind of new PC device type, and they encourage other manufacturers to kind of get on board, make their own versions of it, and of course use Steam OS and get them on there.
I thought there was one that was already out, like a year or 2 years ago. There was one that came out, a handheld, maybe not Steam device, but PC device.
Yeah, so there was one. Sorry, Ace, I was going to just say there was one fairly recently, but it just had absolutely terrible kind of, performance because of its battery. Like there was just quite a few problems with it. But yeah, I think a few people have been trying it. I think Jez may have even, or the guys on Windows Central may have even been looking at something, but I'm not sure whether it was just a kind of, whether it was like a Chinese device imported or something that wasn't available in the West. So
and you mentioned something there that we haven't really even got into is the batteries. Now, these handheld devices is the reason. One of the biggest reasons I don't like them is that you're playing on battery when you're even if you're in your bed or whatever. To me they don't last long enough for gaming sessions. Especially the Switch is no different. I mean, it doesn't last very long. And I can only assume that this thing, if you push it with a power, ray tracing, all that, you may get an hour and a half. Who knows?
Yeah, even quoted, they're quoted that you'll get about 2 hours if you're pushing it. If you're playing Portal, so Portal 2, which is fairly old, then you'll get 4 hours. So battery is going to be a concern if you want to take it out and about. Go on.
Usually when they tell you you're going to get 2 hours, count on an hour and a half. You're not going to get all of that 2 hours. Yeah. And that's just very poor, in my opinion. We got to do something about batteries in this world, man. We got to have better batteries out there. There's got to be another solution here.
Yeah, I think there's a new battery tech. Oh, sorry, Erica.
No, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say it could be an inconvenience. I've dealt with that with the Switch. Even though there's like something to plug in at the side of me, it's like there I got to grab the charger, I got to plug it in, I got to get out of bed, or do what you got to do, and it's first world problems. But I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, you do wish it was a little better. It could always be better. So, and that's even one of the things people wanted from this, Switch Pro in quotes, longer battery for this Switch version, and it doesn't look like we're getting it there either. So. It is what it is. It could be better. Yeah.
Fair enough. So that is the Steam Deck. We've seen a fair few thumbs up, a fair few thumbs down. RG Viper X has scalped 9 of the things from the looks of things. So he's going to be a rich person once those are delivered. I think that might just be an enthusiastic thumbs up rather than I've got 9. But Steam Deck isn't the only thing going on this week. So a more subtle bit of news. From Bloomberg, they leaked that Netflix have hired Mike Verdu, who is a gaming guy. Mike was in charge of EA Mobile and Facebook Gaming for a while. Netflix have hired him, and they seem to have a fairly firm intention to enter gaming in some capacity, which is a big deal. So we've all spent a long time looking at things like Game Pass and saying, oh, is this going to be the Netflix of gaming? Now, maybe Netflix wants to be the Netflix of gaming. So far, we know very little about the kinds of content that they're going to be delivering. So it could be very light content, very light gaming content along the lines of Black Mirror Bandersnatch, where you've got interactive options like, what do you want this character to do, to go left or to go right, to have a dramatic laser battle or do their taxes. It's Futurama reference if you're old enough to catch them. Great program. But Netflix into gaming. Chris, where's it going?
Well, I think I said this a few months back. I think gaming inevitably is moving into a kind of streaming era. Not next year, not the next 5 years. Not necessarily the next decade, really. But I think it's approaching. So it makes sense for Netflix to try and kind of move into it, monetize it slightly. I'm with you. I'm not sure what they're referring to in terms of the actual content that's on there. I'm hoping it's not suddenly just a wash with a load of kind of mobile games that you see converted to kind of TV services and stuff. But I don't think it's quite that poor. But it'd be interesting to see whether they try to go it alone. Do they try to work with someone like Sony to counter Game Pass? Do they try to work directly with Microsoft to try and kind of bolster Game Pass, or ride that wave a little bit? So I think it's an interesting concept. I think it's probably a bit early to a bit too early to speculate, as I say, what type of content's on there. But I think inevitably we are going to move into a period of streaming options for people if they want to consume games that way.
It's quite interesting because you can consider there's been vague rumors that maybe they want to work with Sony and get the PlayStation catalog on there and assume people have got a controller. Probably, yeah. You'd think Netflix is more likely to go the kind of lighter, more interactive gaming route, but time will tell. The time frame, if they want to release something within 12 months, maybe they're looking at something that's pre-baked. But you've got to think, if Netflix are looking to enter a kind of different sector of gaming, be it mobile-like or lightly interactive or core gaming, the other players like Microsoft and Luna and Stadia are also going to be eyeing that other audience. So there is going to be some kind of conflict there. Darge, who's going to win the streaming wars?
Oh, mate. Do you know what? I haven't really paid too much attention to this topic. And then I see the Sony link. And I mean, it was inevitable. Like, why wouldn't they dip their toes in the gaming industry, like, given the growth of it over the last 18 months, But I see the Sony link thing. And then I thought, yeah, maybe they'll allow Sony's catalog onto Netflix and that'll be their way in. But then I thought, why have Sony done the deal with Azure? So it don't really make sense. But I mean, look, they're going to get into it. Like you say, how they need to get development teams. That they need to go through an acquisition process of getting studios and stuff ready for it if they're going to make their own content. But I don't really know too much about it for me personally. So who knows? We'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Do you have Netflix?
I don't know. I'll just quickly say though, I don't know why Netflix, given the reach that it has, like globally, I don't know why they'd only get in bed with one. Like like the data miners found the Sony with the end gaming thing in their archives or whatever. I can't imagine Netflix wanting to just deal with one game development, publisher. Yeah, that'd be dumb. But we'll see. I'm done.
Erica, you're a Netflix viewer. Do you like the kind of lighter interactive, I don't know, Until Dawn, Telltale's kind of game decision-making, guide the characters through choices? Is that a genre that you're into?
Yeah. I've had interest in many of those games, like Telltale, Tales from the Borderlands, Walking Dead. I know Netflix, I think you mentioned it earlier, they had like those TV shows or something where you would choose which way, the character's going to go, and then they would film, I guess, both choices and kind of have an ending to that, like the story. Those are kind of cool. Until Dawn was the game I played as well. they're good, especially for streaming and things like that. I'm not opposed to this. I mean, it's Netflix. It doesn't really surprise me. I feel like if anybody was going to do it, it would be them, as far as like these, HBOs and Paramounts and all this stuff. I don't know what else to really think about it. I mean, they got some things like Stranger Things and shows and movies that are exclusive to their platform. I think if they can bring games around those shows, I think that'd be kind of cool. I'm open to it. I want to see where it goes. As far as like us going that direction with streaming, I think that is definitely happening. I mean, we're seeing it. It's happening. It's going to take some time to really iron out, but it's just kind of inevitable. I don't really like the idea of it because I know it has issues right now, but over time, I'm sure it'll get better as it goes. And if it's competition for these other ones, and if they can up their game, like Microsoft specifically, I think they can be the ones to really push it forward. That would be interesting to see because it's going there. So it's like they might as well compete and make each other better. That's where I'm kind of at, I think, with it.
It's an interesting one because they have Netflix obviously have like a really broad reach, a broad market that they can try and tap, but they don't have content. Whereas Microsoft and Sony have got content and hopefully market as well. Amazon are kind of similar to Netflix in that they have massive reach, but they don't have their own catalog of games. Amazon Luna and Google Stadia have both learned the hard way that it is difficult to get that catalog in place. Fonz, what do you think of Netflix and these other streaming services?
Good luck is what I'll say, first of all, to Netflix. I don't know in what capacity they're going to actually, bring these games, what type of games or whatever they're going to bring out on Netflix. I know that they said they looked into the data and they saw some, Sony imagery or whatever they were talking about. I personally feel that, if they do partnership with Sony, which I think is I think it's kind of a reach because that'd be pretty expensive. All right. Number one, Netflix has money for sure, but that'd be a pretty expensive venture. If they did something like that, look, I wouldn't expect to see, say, Microsoft on Netflix then. I think that would be solely just, partnership with PlayStation. I don't see them, coinciding on the platform at all. But I think they're going to start slow, probably with more interactive type games, like you were talking about, Asa. I don't think they're going to come out and just be like, boom, PlayStation, right here on Netflix. Like, that's kind of crazy, right? Because you got to talk about controllers and things like that. And we haven't heard a peep about anything like that. So I think it's some ways away. We're not going to see anything on it really for at least another year or so. They're probably, I mean, honestly, it's in its infancy right now. It's going to be some time. But I think they'll start slow, and who knows? Like I said, if they do partnership with Sony, don't expect Microsoft to be there as well.
You would think as well that if there was the opportunity to partner with Sony, we're all talking with Netflix as this unknown who have just come out of nowhere in the last couple of weeks, you would have expected Google to be all over that. If the opportunity was there after ZeniMax and everything else, you would have thought that Stadia would be literally the checkbook would be out if they were taking it seriously, so to speak. So it's weird, like Fonz said, it's so early days that it could be nothing. What was the trademark thing? N Gaming or something like Netflix Gaming. I'm trying to think in my head of IPs that Netflix have got, obviously Stranger Things, and then I'm thinking, are they going to do like the Lucas approach of like leasing out the IPs for games to be made, and then that's the N Gaming, so it's like a Netflix game developed by. But yeah, it's just too early days,
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting.
Right.
I mean,
give me one
it's
second.
kind of a snapshot of what's.
Fonz. Let me just grab these super chats.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Harjeet says, unless Netflix is developing its own hardware, doesn't see how they have any credibility there. They don't have the cloud infrastructure. They aren't a large game dev. They will be at a disadvantage. I definitely don't see them making hardware. Hardware's not a particularly lucrative endeavor at the moment anyway. But thank you for saying it. You're absolutely right. Expert I assume this is someone that you know, Erica. Expert, hot caramel,
maybe,
slowly drizzling.
Maybe.
This is you he's talking about. Hot caramel, slowly drizzling over a delicious souffle, has nothing on Erica's buttery voice. By far the smoothest voice in podcasting. And you're alongside Fonz right now, who I guess has the second smoothest voice in podcasting. Do you have any response to that?
I always see that comment, like comments like this about Erica. Yeah,
I get them a lot. I do get them a lot. Thank you. That was Expert. Thank you, Expert. I appreciate that. I do get that a lot.
Awesome.
I never
Fonz,
had
you were
it
about
told
to say
me.
something.
I never had it told to me that way. Let me just say that. But thank you.
Go on, Fonz.
Oh, man, I forgot what I was going to say. Go to Chris. Chris, what's your thoughts on all this?
I'm gonna set it up a little bit. Then set it up a little bit, Gaz style. So we've had Netflix, and they're doing whatever they're doing, right? So let's say hypothetically, you're in control of Sony. The whole of the internet is telling you that you need to compete with Game Pass one way or another. You don't have a server infrastructure. We know that they've signed some kind of deal with Microsoft to use Azure for some things. But if you're Sony and you're looking for services to partner with or building your own infrastructure, what's the correct approach? What do they do, Chris?
I think they do what they've done and approach Azure or something like that. No, Sony have always the thing with Sony is they always kind of like go it alone, and they tend to kind of there's a two-pronged approach with Sony. So all throughout kind of my time and all throughout kind of Sony's history, they will either play the kind of leading hand and they will create something kind of epic and almost like they've taken over that kind of third person story-driven genre, and to the nth degree, absolute polish, great stories, great gameplay, etc. And then there's the other part of Sony where they kind of let people try things first and then they follow. And sometimes they follow and do something really well, and sometimes they follow and get it slightly wrong because they try and tamper with the the ingredients, so to speak. And I think Fonz made a good point. It's got to be really expensive for if Netflix, if this is driven by Netflix and they want to partner with Sony, that's a very expensive move. If Sony are looking at kind of attach rates and they're looking at the numbers that Netflix has, and then saying, okay, if we can bolt our gaming services onto that, it's a tremendous move. The trouble that they may have is, you've either got a kind of a Netflix audience that is not into gaming. So how do you sell the gaming experience to those? Not just, look, gaming's great, etc., but how do you sell, the skill? There's a skill element. There's all of these elements to get into gaming. There's a lot of people out there who think we're all we sit in dark cellars and we're all kind of like a really, seedy part of this gathering who play games and we don't get exercise and fresh air and stuff like that. So you're gonna have to kind of convince those that gaming's actually a really kind of enjoyable experience. You meet lots of friends. It's very sociable. And then you've got the other half who are already into gaming, so you've then got to try and convert them from Xbox or Nintendo or. So I think the idea of kind of trying to attach to a huge audience, a huge set of audience numbers, is a great idea. It saves them trying to kind of grow the cloud or the stream-based element. But I think it's a tricky. It's not without its challenges, that's for sure.
You have touched on a couple of really interesting things there. Right at the start of that, you were saying that Sony typically would opt to go it alone. And I think their partnership with Azure is effectively that. So obviously they're not building the infrastructure, but they're partnering with Azure, not with Xbox, as opposed to a content partnership, as it were. So I think you're spot on with that. They are going to do their own thing, whatever it may be. And you were also talking about the need to convince people that aren't into games that games are a valid form of entertainment, not something to scoff at. And that's a challenge that, I hope that the likes of Microsoft don't put too much energy into, because I want proper games. I play games already and I want all of those studios to be making stuff for me. But it's a challenge that they're going to be trying to tackle to get to expand gaming. Phil's spoken about it. Phil Spencer has spoken about it over and over again. They want to expand gaming to more and more people. So they're going to need to tailor some content there as well. Fonz, you were just about to go.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think another thing too is like, why would they want to kind of, I don't know if this is the right term, but cannibalize their own PS Now? And, you know, like, why would they want competition or, you know, to go against themselves in a way? It's really, that's why it's kind of, this is a far reaching thing here. I don't think this is going to necessarily, I don't think Sony and Netflix are going to partner. I don't see Sony being that way. You know, they've got their own thing going. They've already, you know, kind of partnered with Azure, and they've got PS Now. Why would they put their games on Netflix? I just think
the time frame that they were talking about, so some content appearing within 12 months, I think it's fairly safe to say that that's going to be small scale. We're not really going to feel it particularly, but Netflix's long term interest in that space, we'll see how that plays out. I want to move on to some of the things that Phil Spencer said. So Phil Spencer sat down with Kind of Funny Games for their podcast, spoke to them for, I don't know, half an hour, and said some pretty interesting things. One of them that got a lot of attention, a lot of people talking, was his opinion on the DualSense controller. Essentially talking up the features of it, so the haptic feedback and the resistance triggers, and saying that maybe Microsoft should be looking into that and seeing what they can do with their controllers. Chris, you've got a PlayStation 5, haven't you? What do you think of the DualSense, and do Microsoft need to be looking at those features?
I don't have one, Asa. I have not been fortunate enough to get hold of one. I had a pre-order and I surrendered it to a friend who was absolutely kind of desperate and trying everything to get hold of one. So I've kind of used one briefly at a friend's, but I don't have one yet. So I'm trying to get hold of one myself. But I think obviously I've seen the comments. You know, from my kind of experience, and it depends on like the game. I think that the haptic triggers have got some nice elements to it. I think in certain games they get a little bit kind of frustrating or tedious, almost to the point where they feel a bit broken. Joe, and some of the kind of restriction is a bit too kind of restrictive, so you end up turning that off. But I think in other games, kind of like Astro and stuff like that, they're just sublime. You know, add to like a really enhanced experience. And I'm not sure whether. I think the thing with Phil is he's honest and seems to like appreciate, you know, other bits of tech and what other people are doing. And he obviously suggested that they could look at, you know, potentially a Series 3 Elite controller or something may have some of these elements that a DualSense has got in it. But I don't think it was kind of him definitively saying, Joe, we'd love to kind of pinch that bit of tech or pinch this bit of tech. I think he was kind of genuinely saying this adds something, you know, to the experience. It's a good bit of hardware that kind of Sony have built. And I think obviously it would be stupid for them to not kind of, you know, have some focus groups and see what gamers, you know, think of these kind of features. And even stuff like, I really like, back in the PS4 days, I really like kind of the built-in mic, you know, when you play games like The Division and stuff like that. The kind of computer voice coming out of the controller and stuff rather than it coming out of the telly. There's just a little level of immersion which feels really nice and surprisingly is noticeable when I play The Division on the Xbox, you know, when I've played through it with other friends and stuff. So, you know, I like those type of things. The little speaker, sorry, not microphone. So I think it's an appreciation for what Sony have done. I think in the right environment, the DualSense is, you know, can be awesome. And I think sometimes when it's not being supported correctly, or maybe it's being supported like half-assed, it's you know, it can be a bit frustrating at times.
You know, it's funny you mentioned the speaker on the controller. I used to play PlayStation 4 games. I had a quite nice high-end speaker setup, and it pained me when the controller started doing that. Like, I've got nice speakers. What are you doing this for? Use them.
That's why I
Fonz, you got a PlayStation 5?
Yeah.
You got a PlayStation 5, Fonz. Tell me about DualSense.
I turn off the speaker. I turn off the haptic feedback. Like, I don't like my controller fighting against me while I'm playing games. It's to me, it's a gimmick. I don't care for it. And I know that pisses a lot of PlayStation fans off to say, but I'm just being totally honest. I don't like that kind of thing. My rumble sensitivity is turned down on the Xbox as well. It's just not, I don't know. It just doesn't add anything to me. I don't care for that sort of stuff. But as far as, him saying that he might want to do something like DualSense with Xbox, I say more power to him. If you want to do something like that, options are good. There's a lot of people out there who don't agree with me, and I'm good with that. So give them the option to get this kind of stuff. That's, good for them. I don't have a problem with that.
Fonz, so I get disabling the resistance triggers. I've been playing Ratchet and Clank, and they are a little bit annoying on that. Pretty much every weapon has this.
They're annoying on every
function.
Every game.
They're annoying on Returnal. But the haptic feedback, how can you not want to feel the rain in your hands?
Feedback. I misspoke. It's not the haptic feedback I turn off. Yeah. So, but I just don't like the resistance. Yeah. The haptic feedback though is just, it's gimmicky too. Like, I don't care. Oh, you feel the rain? No, I don't feel the rain. I just feel rumble in the controller, man. It's like that little video you made, and you're like, "Ooh, it feels like a spaceship," or something. That was hilarious, Asa. But yeah, I was dying when you did that for Returnal. But yeah, DualSense, just I don't really care for those sort of things. It is a gimmick at the end of the day for me. So I like the gameplay mechanics. That's what I'm into. I don't care for these little gimmicks in the controller. But a lot of other people love it. So give them what they want. Give them the choice. There's nothing bad about that.
Right, quick, a couple of super chats and then we'll move over to your take on that, Erica. But we've got GameSlord says, in the left corner, Nintendo Switch versus Valve contraption in the right order. Thank you for not calling it a Steam Deck. Fight, Pikachu, finish it, it's a me, Mario, brutality. So I think, and I'm interpreting this liberally, I think he's saying that he prefers the Switch to the Steam Deck. I'm not entirely sure, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, said brutality, I think, at the end, right?
Yes. Lord Roughness, another super chat from Lord Roughness. Thank you very much. Corporate speak from Phil. He never says anything bad about Nintendo or Sony. Personally, don't want gimmicks on the best pad. I can understand not caring either way, but I wouldn't personally reject some extra functionality unless it is going to compromise the life of the controller. Erica, PlayStation 4, do you have one? Not 4, the new one. PlayStation 5, do you have one? Do you love the DualSense? Have you felt the resistance of a bow as you fire it?
I do have one. I have one right here. You know what? It's interesting. Like, when I first got it and I played Astrobot, I played Miles Morales, and then Returnal came along, and I remember feeling like, this is cool. I like it is a gimmick, but I do like it. I like the little rumble and like the subtleness. It's like it feels like my character, if she's nervous, it's like the controller's kind of nervous. I like stuff like that. I think that could work for specific games. But you guys mentioned Ratchet and Clank. I did not like it on Ratchet and Clank. I actually turned it off. I've also been playing Scarlet Nexus on my PS5, turned everything off because that game's not really made for that. It just can feel distracting. It feels like if there's resistance on like specific attacks and things like that, I'm trying to input these attacks, and if it's giving me trouble, especially a game like Scarlet Nexus where combat is like very important, that's going to bother me. And immediately I'm like, nope, I'm turning this off. I am a huge fan of the Xbox controller. So when I read Phil's comments, I wasn't really like opposed to having maybe some kind of haptic in there. Maybe if they play with it a little bit where it makes sense. But I think the controller's fine the way it is. The only thing I want different with this controller, I keep looking at it because I get resentful sometimes because I'm a streamer. That controller's loud. The Xbox controller, the sticks are loud. I hear it all the time when I listen back to my streams. So if he could just make it quieter, I would be happy. And yeah, exactly. Like the PlayStation controller. I think they got that down. It's a little more quiet. Maybe it is the resistance in there, something with the sticks. I'm not really sure, but the Xbox controller can get a little loud. So that's my only thing. I think Phil, and some people were saying in the comments, like it's PR talk. he's giving compliments to PlayStation, and it could just be that. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they kind of do something of their own, because they evolve in some way, right? It's going to evolve in some way. So you never know. I just hope it's done right if they do it. Yeah. Don't force it on everything.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never heard anyone complain about the noise of an Xbox controller. So that's a new one to me.
It's a me thing. Yeah.
When you're using all the buttons and stuff, the triggers, the analog sticks, it is loud. I hear it all the time in party chats.
Yeah.
No, this is fair enough. So there we go. Phil, that's what you need to improve. Lubricate the controller, make it silent for us.
I just hope I don't ruin it for everyone, because everyone's going to notice it now, like when they listen to people playing games and stuff.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, you have damaged the Xbox. So for me, the haptic feedback and the resistance triggers in particular, were nice for Astrobot, which is the functionality or the gameplay is clearly built backwards from them. They said, we want to demonstrate what this trigger can do, and they do some nice things with it. There aren't many other games that feel good with it, but personally I'm entirely convinced that both the triggers and the haptic feedback result from research into virtual reality, where it's a lot more important that you can feel the world around you. So I'm entirely convinced that they were researching the best way to feedback the world through a VR controller, and they took the features they liked and put them in the DualSense, which leads on to something else that Phil said, which is probably not a surprise to anyone that's been following his opinions on VR over the last couple of years. But he was asked if VR will be coming to Xbox, and he pretty much shut it down and said, no, we don't see an opportunity for Xbox there. Before I go on to, I'm going to go to you first, Fonz. Before I do that, just to say, people that are, Chris, you don't get a spanner. See, I'm reading chat. People that are in chat, we are reading it. We're keeping up with it. I'm spinning a lot of plates, so I can't directly respond to as much as I would like to. But I've seen, shout out to Wandering Duck, I've seen some good comments there about the Netflix thing. I'm reading as much as I can. Everyone on the panel is reading it too. So keep it coming. Xbox and VR in general. Chris, I know you've got a Quest 2, so we'll come to you in a second. But first, Fonz, what's your opinion on all of that mess?
VR is not for me. Unfortunately, because I get motion sickness, I can't handle it. I've tried Gear VR before for Samsung phones, and I immediately got sick. Like, it was just no. So motion sickness is a real thing for a lot of people out there, and unfortunately, they can't do VR. So I'm in that camp. But I will say that his objection towards VR, it's probably a simple case of him not wanting to spend the R&D and, create something that could be potentially an expensive unit to make for little sales. Let's face it, the genre is very niche. It really is. When you look across the board, whether it be PC or PlayStation, VR units, they sell, but they don't sell like traditional consoles or traditional gaming. So it's just not there yet. Maybe in the future, but right now, I understand his point.
For me, rather than the R&D as such, Microsoft have already done quite a lot of research and development into it. So Windows mixed reality actually works pretty well on the PC. So I think if they had an appetite for it, they could bring that across. But I think it stands fairly counter to their objective of Game Pass, which is all about accessibility and spreading and making it easy to play games. And VR is not easy to play games. It is a pain in the ass to set up and stick a thing on your face. Chris, you are, at least to some extent, a fellow fan of VR. You've got a Quest 2. What do you think about all of this and VR in general and where it's going? Or not?
Yeah, so I do enjoy the VR experience. I understand what Fonz is saying about motion sickness, but I think that has genuinely kind of improved as refresh rates have increased. And you get more of that kind of like one-to-one movement to what's happening on the screen. You do unfortunately have to kind of find your VR sea legs, so to speak. I think once you've played for a good couple of weeks, you start to kind of get past that. But as to echo what Asa was saying there, that's not kind of what Xbox is about in terms of like allowing people to kind of get into gaming and things. So obviously having that kind of 2 or 3 week period, and then obviously there are just some people who won't get past that. They get seasick, they get travel sick, and VR is not for them. The one thing I would say is I don't think it would be kind of insurmountable or too much work for Xbox. So, we know they've got a good relationship with Valve and HP and other partners. I don't think it would be insurmountable for them to kind of partner or allow third-party support. I think the Series X has got enough power, to give a decent VR experience if they wanted to create a VR kind of channel, so to speak, or a number of experiences. They could perfectly introduce it for something like Flight Sim or a game of that kind of ilk. But Flight Sims are really kind of VR sickness inducing until you get used to those. So that could be a bit hard to take. I think it's one of those where those into VR love the experiences. I think the other thing as well is you need a good chunk of room. So you need to make sure you've got a large playing space and things like that. And I guess not everyone has the perfect kind of setup. So you've got a number of barriers to entry. I'm not sure. I don't think he sees a big enough kind of audience immediately. I think they will always keep an eye on VR. I think they could support third-party hardware should they wish. I enjoy VR. I enjoy some of the the multiplayer co-op games. I've even got kind of the VR, the Pro Tube, for shoot 'em ups and stuff on VR. And that kind of experience is unlike no other. When you've got your controllers like kind of fitted into a physical frame, which feels like a one-to-one weapon, or so on and so forth, and you're kind of leaning in real life around corners and things like that. There's just something about that. There's 3 or 4 of us that play Onwards and a couple of those games, and that experience is awesome. But there is a bit of investment needed to kind of get past that sickness, get the right setup space and so on and so forth. So I can see why they would probably score it quite high on the effort, on the effort kind of column.
It's the VR sickness thing is obviously a good point, and much as I applaud the likes of Samsung and Sony as well for getting in on VR early, I do find those kind of entry-level devices from a few years ago were probably going to do more harm than good in terms of VR sickness, including the PlayStation VR. I can't stomach those. I will say, so I use the HP Reverb G2, which is a Microsoft Windows mixed reality device, and the screen on that thing, if you tried VR a few years ago and then you try it today, it's a night and day difference. It's not far off of looking at a TV in terms of the resolution and the detail. So playing Half-Life Alyx on it is absolutely incredible. And I had a conversation, Darge was in on this the other day, people arguing about the old what's better for a first-person shooter, like a control pad or a keyboard and mouse. It's obviously a keyboard and mouse, but they were having a conversation like, what do you prefer to use? Which one feels more like aiming a weapon? I'm like, it's VR. You point the gun and you shoot it. It's incredible. And I hope that it gets there one day. Darge, I know you're going to be short and sharp on this, so I'll go to you next. VR, you love it, right?
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of bring in the question you've missed me on in the last one with the controller stuff. So in regards to Phil, but I'm not going to give you shit for that because you've got a lot on your plate. Yeah, so I'll allow that and I'll do it myself.
Appreciate that,
But
Darge.
it feels hyping up the haptics and all that gear on the DualSense. Yeah, it shows you just how niche VR is, that he just flatline comes out and goes no. Like when the haptic stuff happened in the DualSense, there was like a survey going around saying, would you like Xbox to implement these features and stuff like that? So they were listening, to that stuff. And again, going back to the controllers, I have played that Astro's Playroom or whatever. It is good, but if you give people the option and they can just turn it off, so be it. Do you know what I mean? But I think they should put that in the next Elite controller. But then going into VR...
Ooh, gatekeeping for the money pack. You want to gatekeep it to the people with money?
I just think well, I mean, how are they going to bring out another controller? Not unless, do they do like a refresh of just a standard controller? Or is it just last generation?
I would guess it would be like, do you remember the PlayStation 3 controller came out as a 6-axis with no rumble, and then they settled their lawsuit and said, Rumble is good, and just stuck it in the new ones.
Well, maybe they could do that, but again, it's an option. Like Xbox are proving they're all about options to a degree. So I know you love it, Asa, but VR must be like a gnat on an elephant's ass in the grand scheme of things, because he's just coming out and going no. And if VR takes off, Microsoft literally have to write a couple of checks and do a couple of things, and they're in like that. So. If he's writing it off, he's writing it off for a reason. But as you say, the door's never fully closed. It's just a small niche thing, I actually struggle with reality on the whole, let alone virtual reality. So I would never touch a VR headset.
That's never say never, but yeah, personally I love it. That's fine. Erica, have you had much experience with VR?
No, I was actually going to tell you guys I've never tried it, and the reason is because like Fonz, I suffer from motion sickness. I get it on like first person campaigns. I get it with that and like role playing games and stuff. So I always just assume I am not going to do well on VR, so I kind of stay away. I actually really haven't had the chance to try it outside of like conventions and stuff. I don't know anybody with it. So yeah, to me personally, obviously, I could do without it. If Microsoft never did it, I would not complain. But if they did dabble in it, I think if they just keep it in its own space, don't take away from the other games that I want to play, I'm good. I really have no complaints or anything. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I just know I can't stomach it. But if it ever gets to the point where, you guys said it did improve over the years. If I get a chance to try it, I would like to know for sure if I just cannot do it. But yeah, if I had to guess, I stay away.
I have to
stay away.
I have to disagree with Christopher Hart in the chat. He said devs have now figured out how to eliminate motion sickness. I don't believe that's true, only because I've played some. Mm-hmm. There are some first-person games that I cannot play. I get motion sickness on, like Mirror's Edge. Even at 60 frames, I can't do it. There's some other games, too, that I don't do well. So
yeah, I'm with you on that. So, I'm the same way. Yeah.
Motion sickness, I actually... I'm really bad with it. This is why I don't really touch portable gaming. The only place where I would do portable gaming would be on a train journey or something like that. And the second I look at any kind of screen, like if anybody messages me while I'm on a train, if you read it, you're killing me. Don't send me messages, because I will read it and I'll feel sick for the rest of the journey. So VR was a struggle for me, but I will say it does depend on the games. And the reason that I said that the entry level ones, like the PlayStation VR and the Gear ones and things like that, are probably going to throw a lot of people off, is because of limitations like the position of the camera for the PlayStation VR. You have to decouple movement from life for them to work, and that's where the sickness comes in. So as soon as you're using sticks or controls to turn around, it's instant vomit. But if you've got a higher end setup that lets you just move around more freely, I don't actually suffer. I'm fine as long as the refresh rate is high enough, everything's clear, and I don't need to walk forwards with a D-pad, which is a difficult problem to solve. But as soon as that's the case, I'm absolutely fine. I will say, personally, I expect the PlayStation VR 2 to be a fantastic device when it comes out. Doesn't mean it's going to sell amazingly, because VR still has challenges, but I think it's going to be incredible. And I will say, I hold Phil Spencer personally responsible for destroying VR. So it's not Phil Spencer's responsibility to push VR, but part of it, the collateral damage of Xbox's studio acquisitions is felt for people that like VR, because the studios that Xbox have acquired, Bethesda for one, they've done incredible VR games and were still doing VR games up to the point that they were acquired. They just released Doom 3 on the PlayStation VR. In Exile did The Mage's Tale VR. Ninja Theory did Hellblade VR. When Microsoft hoover up these studios, their VR pipeline is closed. And that is the only thing in terms of acquisitions. It's like, oh, Microsoft have acquired a studio. That's fantastic. Their games are going on Game Pass, but their VR games are dead. So I'm sad about that, but that's VR, and it's not got a huge following. So we'll move on, and we'll get a bit of rage going, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a little conversation about EA's next-gen upgrade paths for FIFA 22 and Madden 22. And I'm going to ask Fonz, $100 is fair, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's amazingly fair. I'm so glad they've come to their senses, and now they're pro-consumer. EA is amazing. Just as they were becoming not that they were becoming a great at making good on games and because look at the situation. So they started to give us single player games with no microtransactions, and so we were like, good on EA, they're doing good, right? But they're still the devil, people, because they come out with shenanigans like this, like $100 for next gen features. What is going on with these companies? I just don't know anymore, man. I'm blown away at the fact that people will even pay for it, honestly. Look, I'm not telling you not to do what you will with your money, but at the end of the day, I think it's crazy to spend that amount on one game. I think it's crazy to spend $70 on one game, let alone $100 for next gen features. What's going on? What's in these games? Is it crack? Is something really? Do people have to buy these games? Is that why they're willing to pay $100? I just don't understand. It's crazy.
So for people watching that may or may not be aware of it, so at a time when Sony and various other publishers are under fire for charging $10 extra for next-gen versions of their games, EA have casually declared very bravely that if you want to get FIFA 22 or Madden 22 and you want that cross-gen upgrade, the only path that they're going to give you is the ultimate edition of those games, which will set you back $100. I've not even looked at what that is in the UK. It's not going to be cheap.
And not only that, Asa, are they still using assets from 2019 in these games? Because they have been the last few years.
It's an interesting one. I'm glad you said that. So in their slight defense, and it's not a defense because they've totally shot themselves in the foot here, but what they have done with these games is they have developed proper next-gen versions. So there's a separate controversy. If you're into PC gaming, you can't get the next-gen version on PC. You get the previous-gen version. So it's not the case that this is an entirely scalable game. What EA have done is they've invested in the next-gen version properly, but then rather than saying, hey, this investment was worth it, we're going to use this for the next 5-10 years in the way that EA do, they said, hey, $100. That's fair. These are two separate games. And the messaging is awful and the response is exactly what you'd expect. And I don't know who at EA thought it would go any differently. But Darge, do you like FIFA? Are you going to spend $100 on it?
I was just going to say, all that really lovely talk you were saying, I was just going to jump in and just say that's all bollocks. Because I've been playing FIFA since I was about 10 or 11. Yeah. And of the last 10 years, something like that game is always the same. And EA will come out with some term like Volta Football. Oh, we're bringing this next gen AI, blah, blah, blah. FIFA is FIFA. Yeah. And like Fonz said, I did a video on it. Them putting the next gen patches behind the Ultimate and the Gold versions is purely, most people buying FIFA will be parents. A lot of people are still waiting on next gen hardware. Yeah. So their kid wants the new issue of FIFA when it comes out. Mum goes and gets it for PS4 or Xbox One. Yeah. She'll just get the standard version. And then what will happen is when she can get the next gen console for him, they will have to buy the game again at full price because EA ain't offering the game. Like, you talk like it ain't the biggest gaming franchise in gaming. Like, FIFA is massive globally. It's a huge game. You're telling me EA, and like Fonz said, after making single player games, yeah, like Jedi, yeah, and then like with Mass Effect Remastered, they're doing good things. And like you say, you think all the time. And then they've just monetized Madden and FIFA because they know. I was a victim of it in the Ultimate Team mode. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you pump all that money in, nothing ever changes year on year. They should be able to roll your money over to the next game, but they don't. It's a clean slate every time, and everyone keeps going back, just keep pumping their money. So why? It's no surprise that they're doing it, but it's. I didn't buy FIFA last year. I bought it. It was the first time I hadn't bought it on console, and I bought it on PC because it was dirt cheap, and I played it for about an hour, and that was it. And I won't be bothering again because it's just greed, you know. But yeah, that's EA.
I think they're starting to, like, all of these companies that are charging for next gen upgrades. They want to just hit it home to gamers and try to convince them that next gen upgrades are, you know, something special. You're going to have to pay for this. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, in a day and age where you can go online, see their financial reports. You see it reported all the time. Every quarter, their financial reports are recorded, and they're making money hand over fist. In fact, right now, EA is, I mean, their last quarter, they've doubled what they made the year prior. Like, when are we going to, like, stand up as gamers and say, yo, you guys are just, you know, charging us a little too much here, relax. I mean, because let's face it, these FIFA games and Madden games, they've still got all the microtransactions in there, right? That everybody's buying. So, I mean, it's billions of dollars right there alone. Why are we even bothering? Like,
you can't expect, like, without saying or doing something, EA are not just going to wake up one morning and go, all that money we're earning, let's just stop that. Like, the only way they stop it is by boycotting.
No, and I know, and gaming fans aren't going to do that.
No, exactly not. Like, we had that with Battlefield as well. No, but we had that with Battlefield, just quickly. People's attitude with Battlefield with no campaign, and as quick as they bought it for $70, they had to then buy the Battle Pass on top of that, to unlock all the content. People's answers back to that, it's a modern setting Battlefield, I don't care. So people just don't care. Like, they'll just get, you know what I mean? And that's why they earn the money, you know? But that's it.
That's true. I'm guilty with the Battlefield one.
We all are.
I'm guilty with that.
We all are.
We're all guilty, I think, somewhere. And there's always that one game. It's like, well, if I want to play it, I gotta, you know, if you really, really want to play it, what are you gonna do?
That's why I'm staying away from everything that's over $60. That's my limit. That's what I'm paying for a game. And if it's over $60, I'll wait for a sale, and I'm sticking to it. And I have stuck to it. I wanted to play Ratchet. I haven't because it's $70. As soon as I get it on sale, I'll play it. You know, that's the way I'm going to do with every game going forward. They're taking too much money from me already. And I hate to say it this way, but Game Pass has kind of made me a cheap guy, a cheap gamer, right? The fact that I can play all those games and you know, spend so very little a month, me and my son, game sharing, Game Pass sharing, it's amazing. PlayStation, please do that with PS Now. Day one games, because I would be on board with that day one. That'd be amazing.
That'd be amazing. I'd be so happy if we got that announcement.
That's what I want so bad. If Netflix doesn't get their games day one, I may be streaming their games. Who knows?
Netflix getting PlayStation games day one. Yeah. The thing that I find funny about EA with FIFA and Madden is they really have snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. They could have gone the easy option. They could have said, right, this is FIFA 22 on Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. You've got spatial sound and a slightly higher resolution, and the lighting's a bit better. Done. Cross-gen, people are happy. They put the extra effort in. They've made a proper next-gen version, and they should have been lauded for it. But then they just said, I hate my own feet, and they just start shooting away, like bang, 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 bang. And they just look stupid, and the response was so predictable, and I don't understand why they'd do it. They're going to use...
NBA did it last year, though, didn't they? 2K21 was like... That was it was the Kobe Bryant, when the Black Mamba edition with which I own the next gen version, like Chris does as well. And I mean, I'm playing it on the Series S, but I've seen footage of Series X. It is a different game. It looks a lot better.
A completely different game.
But NBA did the it's not who is it? 2K. They did exactly the same thing again. They put it behind the premium editions of the game. Major Play, which I made a video on a year ago, and it bombed because no one cared about it. But yeah, it's just a shitty move, basically, with big IPs and licenses.
It is, and I like you can sit on the outside and say, like, clearly you're going to milk the work that you've done. So you can't defend it. I'm capable of defending anything, but you can't defend this reasonably, because you can say they've put the effort into these next gen versions and they need to get paid for it. It's only fair, but that's not true, because you know full well they're going to milk the work that they've done for the next decade. So why wasn't that enough? But that's just EA. So what can you say? We've got a super chat. Oh, it's 1/5 of a FIFA Ultimate Edition. That is very generous. Thank you very much. What's your guys' thoughts on Jim Ryan's quote that people don't remember K games? So Jim Ryan, I'm assuming that's OK Games. Jim Ryan came out and said, like, PlayStation bangers matter. People don't remember games that aren't your, like, 90 plus Metacritics, that aren't these big cinematic ones. I'll pass that around. Volunteer. Who's got an opinion on that? Do you remember any games that didn't get 95 on Metacritic? Go on, Darge.
My opinion on that is, if Jim Ryan had a load of OK games, he'd be saying different, wouldn't he? So what do you expect him to say? Like, he's going to load up the games that he's got. Fonz? Fonz was froze. Oh, he's back. No, he's like froze momentarily. Yeah, no, at the end of the day, it's no surprise. Obviously, you flaunt what you got. Do you know what I mean? But that is bollocks, because there's a load of OK games that I've played. But yeah, that ain't no surprise. I mean, Jim Ryan's just a meme at the minute. Fonz is good friends with him, but yeah, he's just saying all sorts of stuff at the minute. But it's, I guess the God of War stuff came out, didn't it? That it might not even be next year or some shit. It's just like, what do you expect the geezer to say? Like, the games are bangers, their first party games are bangers. He's not going to say anything different until they have an OK game, and then it'll be different.
That's very
They've
true.
had OK games, but Erica, you must have some games that are OK games that you remember, right?
Of course. I mean, I'm trying to think what I would determines an OK game. I don't know. I guess, are we talking Metacritic? Is that where he's kind of leaning towards?
I think that's what he was alluding to.
Yeah, so like the 80s and 70s games. Yeah, I mean, for better or for worse, I remember things about them. And there's games in the 80s that I've loved a lot. So yeah, I mean, I do agree with Darge. I feel like he's just gloating because he's got them. It'd be the same thing if Phil Spencer and if Xbox had, quote unquote bangers right now. He'd probably be saying the same thing, and it kind of is what it is. And when they don't have it, they focus on something they do have, and then they kind of push it to the forefront, and it's like PR talk and this is actually the first I'm hearing about this. Huh?
I actually think that Phil Spencer. So Phil Spencer has a silver tongue, and he never says the wrong thing. And I think Phil Spencer would appreciate that 98% of the games on his platform are OK games, and that everyone has some games that are in their top 10, their favorite games ever, that were OK games. So I think it's an outrageous thing to say, like, just ridiculously silly. But what do you think, Fonz?
Oh, I agree with what they've said. I can't really add much more to it other than to say that, I've loved a lot of OK games in the past. Objectively, when people would, if you look at Metacritic, there's been games where, I've played that I thought were great games in the 70s. And, people in general say, oh, if it hits the 70s, it's garbage. Like, I hate Metacritic in general, but I think Jim, he's one of those guys that I think should talk less. I think
100%.
I think that he puts his foot in his mouth a lot, and I think that Sony would do better with somebody else. Like, honestly, maybe he's very business minded and he's doing well there. Obviously, they're selling still the consoles, the games, all that, but I really miss Sean Layden, to be honest. I thought he was a way better spokesperson for the company.
Chris, you've made some OK games. How does it feel?
All of my games have been bangers, Asa. How dare you? It's like no disrespect and no personal hatred towards Jim Ryan, but I would swap him and Herman around tomorrow. if I could. And I think Jim is a finance person, and he's absolutely the wrong person to be talking about games. So all the way back, over a decade ago when I was at Sony, and we used to have these kind of summer conventions where all the employees would go away, and obviously there'd be presentations about kind of what Sony are trying to drive for and stuff like that. And there was a big percentage of them that were really interesting about kind of trying to break new boundaries in hardware and so on and so forth. But you would get kind of Jim on stage who would try and like persuade like these hundreds of people who already work for the business that it's like a great business to work for and so on and so forth. But he would just get bar charts and numbers charts and all of this kind of stuff up. And there was this kind of ongoing kind of period where there was kind of massive disparity in kind of salaries within Sony. So people in QA were kind of not really getting kind of deserved salaries, and some devs were not getting kind of industry salaries and so on and so forth. But it was all met with, but you work for Sony, so it's that's the positive, that's the good thing, that's the reason why you should be happy with what you're getting paid, because this is Sony and stuff. And Jim's mentality, he's the perfect person for the board to appoint and say, we need to find new and different ways of making money. We can make money, and this is why he will be behind games going onto PC and all of these things that kind of Sony gamers don't want. By the way, I'm not opposed to Sony games going on PC. I think they should. I think more people should have the ability to play games where they want. But this kind of Metacritic, it was around when I was there. But the problem is it's increased, and it's increased to a level which is just kind of ludicrous now. So when I was there, we would target like a Metacritic or a critic score of kind of 70 or above would be a success, and that would tick a load of criteria and say we'll look at a sequel, and we'll look at kind of a spin-off or this, that, the other. And as we move through the years, it slowly rose to kind of 75, then 80, and I get kind of let's increase the the look and feel, the quality in certain areas and things. So I think that's a good thing to aim for. But this criteria went up to kind of 80, 85, 90. Not many people, not many devs, talented devs all over the world create 90 Metacritic games, time and time again. True. And the thing that I would pick up is, Days Gone, which is one of those games where I think it ended up being like 74 or 70 something, 72 to 74. It's, outright hasn't got a sequel. Obviously, Bend are working on something else instead. But that went over to PC, and you look at the Steam scores, you look at how that's being received, how it's sold on PC, and that's an okay game by his definition.
That's one of those games that I actually loved. I love playing that. Yeah.
That's what it's about, though. That's why Metacritic's crap, is because we've all got difference of opinions. If you're watching a group of reviewers and they've all got a similar taste, so that game, the Sony game, for example, the third-person story-driven is their flavour, and it rates really well, but it's not your flavour because you like an RPG, first-person perspective, but they trash those games. That's what I'm saying. You've got to make your own mind up. They need to stop. Like, Metacritic is a weapon in the social space for people to justify certain things. But Sea of Thieves, Chris, I go back to it, and I'm not going to be the Sea of Thieves guy. But the time that we played, and with Asa, we had Asa laughing. Games like that are different. You make your own fun, and then you get your own enjoyment out of it. That game's at like a 72 or something like that. It's in like a really low 70. So in hindsight today, people go, that game's trash. But it's all different perspective. Like, that's why I hate Metacritic. So like Gaz tells me I hate Metacritic because Xbox games do badly, but it's just in general. It's
especially, Darge, when I'm hearing more and more about, these quote unquote professional journalists, reviewers, game reviewers that play these games on easy and sometimes don't even finish them and still review them. That to me is just insane.
But that's down to because I think I said it to you, Chris. It should be, and Gaz as well, it should be a criteria with these game devs who are sending their product out for a fair assessment. They should be saying, for the best experience of of our game, to get the true experience, you've got to play it on regular difficulty or whatever. Not the easiest, so you're skimming through, you're missing everything because you're just streamlining through quick. You're not getting a fair representation of their product. How can you score it correctly?
Yeah, there's a reason, isn't there, why, certain game devs will have, regular or normal with a little side quote saying how the developer intended the game to be played. The hard levels are for those people who have played the game how the devs intended, but then want to play through again with the extra challenge and so on and so forth. I mean, when we made like Wipeout and Formula One, we, in the day, I was kind of setting the fastest laps in the office, and we do loads of multiplayer tests and so on and so forth. And I set up kind of the AI in the races, and I took the AI to a level where I found it difficult to win or difficult to beat. And there was people out there when we launched the game said, like, the hardest difficulty level was still too easy for them. And it was the same with Wipeout. We had this kind of developer called Zico who worked with us, and one of the achievements was beat Zico because he set this kind of like ridiculous time on one of the levels. Can't remember what level it was, sadly. But there were people out there who kind of smashed that, and there was like 1% of people, 1 or 2% in Sony who could beat his time. Yet there was kind of hundreds, if not thousands, of people out there who kind of could beat it. So there's always someone out there who kind of understands the game or gets into a zone that's kind of beyond how developers, and that's where the kind of nightmare difficulties and so on come from. But yeah, these people should be playing it at that as the devs intended, so you at least get that kind of enjoyable experience. And then I appreciate whether it's someone new to games or it's a younger player or something like that, then absolutely allow them to knock it back to easy or a difficulty so they can at least enjoy the game. But
Chris, what does it tell you when say a game reviewer is playing a game and they're telling you things like, well, we don't have much time to play through the games, so that's why we do this or that, or we don't finish it. It's like that tells me that you're not really getting the full scope of the game. If you don't have much time to finish the game and you're making all these excuses on why you didn't finish, you really are just trying to beeline through a game for a review's sake, for a click's sake. That's why I don't trust many of these, journalists reviewing games. That's why I like going to YouTube and seeing from my peers and stuff what they're doing, what they're playing, their game reviews, what they feel about it. Going to Erica's channel and hearing her thoughts on it. We're much better off listening to people like that than, professional game reviewers.
Yeah,
right.
they
So
do.
in conclusion, go on.
I was just going to say
Last thing on this. Go.
that is kind of the thing with the journalists. Like, they lean on the fact that, like, we don't have a lot of time, which is true. Sometimes these companies send their games late and things like that. But maybe just, do a review in progress, do a first impressions, do something that's more fair. But, it's about clicks at the end of the day. Like, Fonz, you're spot on with that.
Yeah.
Right, I'm gonna rope it back in. We're touching on a big topic there that we weren't going to too much today.
We kind of trailed off.
No, that's all good. It's all good. It's all good fun. Shinamori says that Microsoft should be paying a bonus to Jim Ryan to keep talking, because every time he talks, he makes Xbox look good by comparison. And you can't argue. It's true. When I say that Phil Spencer has a silver tongue and always says the right thing, Jim Ryan has a numb tongue that's like hanging out of his mouth, and whenever he talks, it's a disaster for Sony. Which is funny to watch. And you're I think Chris was saying they should let Herman Hulst do more of the talking. And Herman Hulst comes a lot better, although the first thing they kind of got him to say I think Sony have recognized that he needs to do more of the talking. But then they kind of said, Herman, go out there and tell them that Horizon and God of War are delayed. Which no one's going to be able to deliver well. But hopefully as they get more positive news, they'll get Herman doing the talking. Jim Ryan can pull strings in the background, and we'll see what he can come up with. We are getting close to the end of the show, but I want to cover one more thing. So in the next few weeks, we've got 4 really impressive looking action RPGs coming out. and I just want to touch on your opinions on those. So we've got Death's Door, we've got Tribes of Midgard, we've got The Ascent, and we've got Hades, which isn't strictly new, but it was close run for Game of the Year last year on the Switch and the PC, and now it's coming to the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox. So I'll go to reverse order on this one. Fonz, those action RPGs, those 4 very promising looking games. Are you aware of them? Are you going to play any of the 4?
I never tried Hades before, but I'm not into roguelikes. Like, they're not really my jam. But I heard Hades this one is different. Like, this one is a lot. Like, it's a really good roguelike. So I don't know. I may try it, but I definitely am going to play The Ascent, and Death's Door looks cool too. I'm going to try that out. But I'm really looking forward to The Ascent. I've been looking forward to that for quite some time, because hopefully this is a cyberpunk game that doesn't get totally trashed, in the media.
Hopefully it works.
And it works. Yeah, exactly. So, I'm really looking forward to those 2 games. So, Death's Door and The Ascent.
And what about, so of those games, Erica, are you aware of them? Are you planning to play any of them?
I was just listening to Fonz and thinking we have a lot in common. I am very much looking forward to Death's Door and The Ascent. The Ascent, it has like a 4-player co-op with it too, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to like dive into that, stream it and stuff. And Death's Door, I already have it pre-ordered on Steam. The moment I saw that game, I think we talked about it the first time I was on this show, because it was shown that week, I think. And that one, we really praised it, and it stood out. And since then, I've had it on my radar. So yeah, I'm going to play that one. Hades, I do have on Steam already. I haven't beat it, but I've played a good chunk, and it is different. Fonz. I'm like you. I wasn't really into the roguelites. Even with Returnal, I was kind of hesitant. But Hades they do it right. I think they do enough to make you feel.
Heard.
Yeah, like you feel like you accomplished something even though you died. It's like, oh, I got this thing, even though, I died, but at least I kind of feel a little bit more powerful. And now I progress in a sense, So I'd give it a shot if you can. It looks gorgeous. Cool. It's got cool, the aesthetics and everything, the bosses. It's a good game. So yeah, but that 4th one I haven't really looked at or anything, but those 3, those 3 are good.
That's so that's cool that you say that though. So Hades, as Erica was just saying, I always considered it kind of like the Blizzard of old that used to take a genre and fix it and make it fun for more people. Hades does that. So I never liked the roguelike genre. I don't like just doing repetition for the sake of repetition's sake, but Hades is incredible. It just feels nice every run, whether you have a good one or a bad one. I have finished it and probably won't play it again, but it is also worth knowing the games that I mentioned, the 4 action RPGs, 3 of them are day 1 on Game Pass, if you can call Hades day 1. It's day 1 as far as the Xbox and PC, not even the PC. It's day 1 as far as the Xbox release is concerned. But 3 great games on Game Pass. Darge, you're back. I know you're looking forward to Death's Door.
Yeah, don't know why, but I saw was it at the Carnage Indie Twitch showcase where they showed the game off, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's the art style or something like that, but I kind of thought, and I looked into it, and then Jez Gordon from Windows Central, he put out like an early preview and was really lauding it up. So I'm really looking forward. I think it's Tuesday that it goes into.
Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really looking to getting hands-on with that. It might not be for me, like going to Hades as well. I know that like everyone who sort of played it is a big fan of it. Games like Dead Cell and stuff like that, I didn't get on too well with them, but I like, the Hades art style. It's Game Pass. Obviously, I'm going to install it and have a go anyway. Hopefully enjoy it. But that Tales of Midgard one, that's the PlayStation. It's PlayStation, right?
Rise of Midgard is PlayStation and PC, yeah.
Yeah, I actually that madness state of play the other week. I actually really liked the look of that game. Like I really did. That was the one game where I sort of went, "Oh, that looks all right," But I'm not going to get me out. Well, I can actually on PC. And then with regards to the Ascent, yeah, I'm hoping to get sort of a 4 4-player team playthrough of that, because that looks amazing. So yeah, it's going to be a good month.
Definitely.
So, Chris, of the 4 games then, so 3 are obviously on Game Pass and definitely worth trying, but if you heard of Rise of Midgard, that's it's 10-player co-op, it's got survival elements, season-based gameplay. It's playing on the screen right now. It actually looks really good to me. Is that on your radar or any of the other 3?
Yeah, so definitely just to echo Erica Fonz, really, and Darge. So I'm obviously enjoying like co-op gaming at the moment, so the Ascent's been on my radar for a good while now. I like that kind of cyberpunk environment and setting, so looking forward to that. I think Death's Door looks awesome, and I think if people want to do the kind of support the devs argument, it's like $15 or whatever. I think it looks beautiful. It looks like a really nice game. Gameplay, it looks really smooth, interesting settings and stuff. So I'll definitely play that. I've got Hades on the Switch. Again, I haven't finished it, but I do enjoy the runs on it. I think, as Erica was saying, you actually, you do feel like you've accomplished something. You get that kind of reward whether you die or not. So I think it's a good chunk of games. As I say, certainly Death's Door largely for the reasons that Darge was saying. I think Jez gave it a great kind of preview. It looks good, and the Ascent just for that 4-player kind of co-op experience, and it looks beautiful. It kind of reminds me of a bit kind of old school Syndicate and Diablo and those type of games. So I do kind of enjoy that type of gameplay.
Yeah, I think there's 4 cracking looking games there. So let's hope they don't turn out to be okay and we all forget them by the week after.
If it's not 90 or above, we're gonna forget them. So
definitely, and that'll be sad because they look pretty good. We're going to start to wrap up here, so we're going to run through some outros. I hope everyone has had a great time, but we'll run through some outros. So I'm going to ask our 4 fantastic guests to tell us what they're up to in the coming weeks and where you can find them. So, Chris, what are you up to?
So work on that side. So really busy at the moment with work. So I've got my own business. So that comes with all kinds of challenges. On the gaming side, as I say, I'm really into kind of cooperative play. So obviously, I'm sure I'll jump on a stream with yourself, Asa, which is always good and enjoyable to do. And if people want to kind of connect with me on Twitter, CJ Grannell. I'm on kind of Xbox, more often than not, kind of every night. So that's Hard Times UK if anyone wants to jump into some co-op gaming. And then on a Wednesday, I'm a panel member of Midweek Mix-Up, and we're kind of moving towards 1,000 subscribers at the moment, and we've got a really great kind of competition and giveaway. So I think once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we're going to kind of give away a couple of games of your choice, and then Wandering Dutch is going to create a custom controller. So for those who don't know, Wandering Dutch builds controllers or customizes controllers from scratch, sprays them, paint job, you name it. It's done some awesome ones. So the winner picked at random will get to choose a custom controller. So whether that's Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, you name it, that'll be put together. So come over and join us on a Wednesday. It's at 7 p.m. British summertime.
Nice and awesome.
Thanks for having me, Asa.
You're more than welcome. So Chris doesn't know this yet. He's been streaming with me on the Tuesdays. We're probably going to do a little bit of Remnant from the Ashes survival mode on Tuesday, see how that goes. And then the following week, I'm going to rope him into some co-op The Ascent. So these are things that are happening. Midweek Mix-Up it's a nice podcast, great group of people. Wandering Dutch and the whole panel are well worth tuning into. So check those out as well. Darge, despite his rugged exterior, he's quite a shy content creator. But Darge, tell us what you're up to.
I started making content again, so I'll probably end up trying to get something. I was trying to get stuff out Tuesdays and Fridays, and I talked myself out of covering a story for this Friday, but then ended up doing it. So hopefully I have something back out Tuesday. just gonna try and crack on with it a bit regular. The last 12 months for me have been a bit mental, but yeah, that's that. Probably Death's Door Tuesday, Asa. So you're gonna have to really, lure me
your way.
on Tuesday. Yeah. Just going to be playing the games that we just mentioned in the last topic. Looking forward to them all. You can get me on Twitter. It's at Darge Knight, and the YouTube channel is the Darge Knight. You'll probably get a load of Christian Bale and Tom Hardy sort of stuff for Heath Ledger come up, but somewhere in there you'll find me.
You're on like page 10 or something like that.
Yeah, I'm in the bottom of the barrel somewhere. It's that.
There you go. So Darge's content, he's just started up again, I think last week. He's done about 3 videos since then. He's going to keep it up regularly. Give him some encouragement, leave him some comments.
Yeah, give me feedback.
And you'll see more.
Feed it back.
Yeah.
Definitely feed it back.
Sure.
And doesn't everyone love his lights on the stream today?
Oh, I'll bring him up. There you go. Does a great pirate impression as well. So does Chris. Erica, so you're hosting shortly today, aren't you? But tell us what else you're up to and where people can find you.
I am. In a couple of hours, I'll be hosting my podcast. It's called The Backlog with Erica and Shar, 2-person podcast. That's tonight and every other Saturday. And Pacific time, by the way, of 5:30. I mentioned earlier I'm playing Doki Doki on stream. I'm about halfway, so if you want to follow me on Twitch, just look up Ericuts for the win. You see my name on the screen right now. Just type that in, you'll find me. If you want to catch the end of that game with me, I hear it's crazy. So if you want to follow me, watch my streams, I'm over there on Twitch. And pretty much everywhere by that name, whether it's Twitter, YouTube, that name, you will find me on that platform. So yeah, thanks again for having me. It was a lot of fun. And it was good meeting all the new people I met today.
Definitely a pleasure. Your Twitch streams are great, so people should definitely check those out. The podcast that you're doing in a couple of hours, that's also on Twitch?
No, YouTube. That's on my YouTube. And then it goes across to the audio platforms. So like iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, and things like that. So yeah.
Awesome. And last again, certainly not.
Quick, sorry, mate.
No, yeah, go on.
Before, I didn't want to cut, but I just wanted to say, because I didn't say it on my outro, I just wanted to say, like, you've done a really good job on your own tonight. And
yes,
I think everyone in the chat, if you think he's done well, just put a thumbs up or something, because I think he's done well on his jack. So well done, mate.
Oh, blushing. Thank you, Darge. That's kind of you. Fonz. So Fonz does GamesTalkLive, regular panel member on RDX. Tell us where people can find you.
Yeah, as you've touched on, RDX every Tuesday, Dealer Gaming's channel. We do a podcast there on the Xbox, everything Xbox, really. And on my channel, I talk everything gaming, and I do my Games Talk Live every Sunday on the Fonzarelli Gaming channel, and that podcast also goes out to all the streaming platforms, Apple, Google, all that stuff. So you can find me on Spotify and stuff like that. And I go one-on-one with a guest on the show, and this week's guest is going to be Colt Eastwood. So I'm going to have him on tomorrow.
Nice.
Yep.
Awesome.
Got to get you on, Erica. Got to get you on.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So Games Talk Live is it's a very different feel to the normal podcast. It's Fonz and one guest, throws them some questions, has a good time. Only typically lasts an hour.
I do some trivia on there and stuff, so like it's a little bit different, but it's
nice
much
just
talk
time.
games. It's a good time though.
So check that out as well. I would like to thank, as Darge was saying, I'm hosting on my own, which is a little bit different from me, so a bit of nerves going into it, but thank you everybody that has come along in chat and supported it. Especially thank you everybody that has hit that like button. If you haven't hit that yet, there's still time. And yeah, massive thanks to all 4 guests that have made this so easy for me. And it's been a great time. We'll be back here same time next week. Gaz will be back to help out with the hosting. So if you've missed him, fear not. And And yeah, I guess I should talk about myself as well. I also am streaming pretty much every day. There's some Halo, there's some Last Remnant, there's some Ratchet and Clank, there's some horror games, Evil Within 2. There's a ton of stuff on my Twitch channel as well. So do come and talk to me. I'm very talkative to chat as well. And it's great to see people just drop in and say hi. And we will end it there and see you next time.
See ya.
See the Series X putting out some seriously impressive pixels. In this video, I want to take a look at the games that push the boundaries and the ones that just drop my jaw to the floor. Oh, stop it. I'm dead. Oh no. Well, the next-gen upgrade charging fiasco has rose its head again. Let's get into it. What's going on, people? It's me, the Darge Knight, back again with another video. If you're new around here, please thanks for stopping by. If you wouldn't mind, hit the like button if you enjoy what you see here, and if you would like to see more, please hit the subscribe button. So we're starting off today with news that FIFA 22 and Madden 22's next-gen upgrade.
First panel member, of course, you know better as CG Grannell. How are you doing, brother? What have you been up to?
I'm very well, thank you. Great to have calls here, so thanks for coming on. And I've been working really. Busy day.
Yeah, they were up front. Like, I knew what to expect, T-Rock. That's what I'm saying. Is like, I knew I didn't need to stream this because I knew it was just going to be a few indies, which I'm all for. I want to see some indies, but to leave away from my job to stream it, no, it's not worth it. Because I was working at the time. So I didn't feel it was worth it to take some time off, like a couple hours or something like that, to stream it. Let's go ahead and see a couple of things.
I'm back now, and I've got a special guest with me, of course, that being Mr. Neo Game Spark.